There is a hidden language spoken beneath words. A language that moves silently in the spaces between breath and glance, between pause and pulse. It is the language of desire. Not loud or brash, but quiet, insistent, and inevitable. This is the language the Playboys have known for centuries. Not the shallow stereotype painted by culture, but the profound mastery of emotional architecture, of psychological rhythm that triggers desire in women like a symphony tuned perfectly to the frequencies of the heart and the body. To understand this secret is to begin the journey into your own emotional depths. It is to realize that desire, real desire, is not something you force or manufacture but something you awaken. A dormant flame waiting for the right spark. And that spark is not in flashy words, not in frantic pursuit, but in a calm, poised presence that invites a woman to feel, to imagine, to discover herself anew within your gaze. Most men never see beyond the surface. They mistake noise for communication, words for connection, and chase desire as if it were a prize to be won. But the true Playboys understand that desire is an echo of something far deeper. Emotional tension, psychological invitation, the art of asking questions that stir without pressing, that open without demanding. The journey begins here, not with what you say but with how you hold yourself. In stillness, in silence, in the power of listening more than speaking. Women feel this immediately. A magnetic pull toward a man who does not rush, who is not desperate to impress, but confident enough to be quiet. This quiet is not absence. It is presence. Presence that invites curiosity, that makes her wonder what lies beneath, what stories are left untold, what mysteries she might discover if she dares. Imagine for a moment a question whispered, not loudly but with calm intention. If I gave you 5 seconds of freedom, what would you do with me? It is not a line. It is an invitation to imagination. A crack in the everyday script that invites her to step into a space where rules dissolve, where desire breathes softly, and she is free to explore the impulses she often hides. That question, delivered with steady calm, disrupts the usual flow. It bypasses her logical mind and touches the place where desire lives. Not the obvious, not the physical, but the emotional and psychological. Says without saying, I see the part of you that craves freedom, spontaneity, play. In these moments, a man who understands the psychology of desire does not need to explain, to push, or to perform. He holds the space and lets the tension grow, thickening the air between them, as her mind loops the question, turning it over long after the conversation ends. She begins to associate this man with something rare. The permission to feel, to be bold without shame, to be seen without judgment. This is the first secret of desire. Desire is never created by telling her what to feel. It is created by inviting her to discover it herself. As this invitation settles, a second question might follow, slow and deliberate. What do you think I'd do to you if no one else was watching? This question does not demand an answer. It plants a seed in her imagination, making her the director of a scene where she is both the creator and the witness. The power of this lies in what is not said, the energy that lingers in the silence afterward, the unspoken possibilities that fill the space between them. The Playboy's mastery is in this silence, in trusting the unseen tension, in knowing that desire grows not through control, but through surrender. Not through frantic chasing, but through confident stillness. When he asks this question without a grin, without leaning in, with the weight of calm certainty, he offers her a canvas on which to paint her desires. She is no longer reacting to him. She is creating him in her mind, filling the blanks with whatever ignites her spark. This act of creation is deeper than attraction. It is imprinting, the emotional tattoo that lingers long after words fade. Here lies the second secret. Desire is less about you and more about her owning her own fantasies, with you as the silent partner in that journey. But desire is not only an affair of the mind. It is a dialogue with the body, a conversation between subtle signals and internal rhythms. The third secret is the power of attention, the ability to guide her awareness inward, toward her own physical responses, without touching her. Which part of your body responds first when you're turned on? This is a question that does not ask for explicit detail. It is a quiet call to presence, a tether pulling her away from distractions, away from the script of small talk, and back into her own experience. Most women have never been invited to notice these private sensations, to give voice to the whispers of their own bodies. When she hesitates, when she shifts in her seat, when her eyes flick away, these are signs not of discomfort, but of something awakening. Her nervous system begins to associate your voice, your gaze, your calm with a deepening arousal. You become not just a man she talks to, but the origin of a bodily memory that loops in her mind like a melody. This is the third secret. Desire is anchored in presence that awakens sensation without intrusion. These questions, these moments, are not tricks or manipulations. They are invitations into emotional freedom, a place where she can shed her armor, let down her walls, and meet you in a space that feels both safe and thrilling. The Playboy is not a player. He is a conductor of emotional and sensual currents, a craftsman of tension, a master of silence. But understanding desire in women requires more than just questions. It requires deep emotional awareness, an understanding of the patterns that shape attraction and connection. Every woman carries a blueprint, an unconscious emotional map of what draws her to men, shaped by past experiences, imprints from early relationships, and hidden longings she may not fully recognize. The fourth secret is the power of recognizing and gently reflecting this pattern. What is it about men that you are always drawn to? This question cuts through surface-level answers. It asks her to name the unseen thread that pulls her, the recurring feeling she seeks but rarely finds. Maybe it is calm in chaos. Maybe it is the quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout. When you hold your gaze and wait after she answers, the real truth surfaces, not from her lips, but from her eyes, her breath, the subtle shift in her posture. By holding steady, by not rushing to change yourself to fit that ideal, you become a mirror, not a mimic, reflecting her deepest desires back to her. This reflection awakens longing, not because you perform, but because you embody presence. The fourth secret. Desire thrives when a woman sees herself reflected in a man who does not seek to become her fantasy, but stands firmly as himself. This reflection moves the connection beyond the realm of casual flirtation. It moves into emotional intimacy, the space where vulnerability meets strength, where attraction deepens into something memorable, something electric. And to reach that space, a man must ask a question few dare. If I knew the real you, what would surprise me most? This question is a key turning point. It invites her to drop the masks that daily life demands, to reveal the hidden facets of her identity that others rarely see. It is an offering of emotional permission, a silent promise that her truth will be met with acceptance, not judgment. When she pauses, when the silence stretches long enough to cradle vulnerability, she begins to feel seen. Not the version she performs for the world, but the one she hides even from herself at times. This is the fifth secret. Desire ignites in the sacred space created by authentic emotional exposure. It is in these moments of shared truth that connection blossoms into more than physical chemistry. It becomes a profound meeting of selves, a dance of recognition that lingers like a whispered secret between two souls. Yet this dance is not without tension. Desire thrives on contradiction, the pull between safety and surrender, the need to be understood and the urge to be claimed. Would you rather be understood or devoured? This is a question that places this tension front and center. It invites her to voice the paradox that lives inside every longing heart, the craving for emotional safety and the hunger for passionate abandon. How you ask this changes everything. With steady eyes and unwavering calm, you hold that tension without flinching, allowing her to feel fully seen in her complexity. If she chooses to be understood, you offer the sanctuary of empathy, the quiet strength of presence. If she chooses to be devoured, you become the fire that does not consume but transforms. If she hesitates, wanting both, the room shifts, charged with possibility. This is no longer a game. It is a communion of emotional and physical forces, a sacred space where true desire is born. The sixth secret. Desire is born in the embrace of contradiction, held tenderly by a man unafraid of complexity. And finally, there is the silent current that flows beneath every glance, every pause, every breath shared between two people, the tension that doesn't need words. Do you believe in tension that doesn't need words? This question names the invisible, giving form to the formless. It invites her to recognize the charged space between you, the hum beneath the silence, the pulse that quickens when eyes meet and hands stay still. Most men fear this tension. They rush to fill the silence, to explain, to act. But the Playboy knows this tension is the language of presence, the electric current that signals something deeper is awakening. By holding this silence, by trusting the slow burn of anticipation, you become the flame that draws her in without force, without hurry. The seventh secret. Desire lives in the unspoken, in the spaces we dare to inhabit without fear. These 7 questions, these 7 secrets, are not mere lines or tricks. They are an invitation to awaken a new way of relating, one that honors emotional mastery, presence, and deep connection. For the man willing to embrace this path, desire is no longer a fleeting chase but a lasting dance, a dialogue between souls, a sacred exchange that transforms both giver and receiver. This is the power of the psychological secrets Playboys use, not to manipulate but to awaken, not to perform but to be, not to chase but to invite. And in that invitation lies the true essence of desire, the desire to be seen, to be known, to be felt deeply in a world that too often demands we hide. If you listen closely beyond the noise, you will hear it, the quiet call of emotional freedom, waiting for you to answer. Desire, in its purest form, is a journey inward as much as it is a journey outward. To master the secrets that trigger desire in women is to master the art of emotional navigation, moving through the depths of presence, tension, and authenticity with deliberate grace. The path of the Playboy is not paved with empty conquests or fleeting encounters, but with moments of quiet power, moments where the space between words carries more meaning than any declaration, where emotional undercurrents shape the dance of connection. As you move deeper into this realm, the first truth you must embrace is that your own emotional mastery sets the stage for desire. Without calm presence, the questions we spoke of before become empty echoes. It is not enough to ask. You must become the man who embodies the energy behind those questions. This is where self-awareness becomes your greatest ally. Look inward and notice the emotional patterns that have shaped your interactions with women. Are you chasing approval, seeking validation, or do you carry an inner steadiness that does not waver based on external response? Women sense this immediately. They feel when a man is tethered to outcomes, when he seeks to fill an internal void through external conquest. This neediness kills desire, replacing it with tension that suffocates rather than seduces. But when you cultivate emotional sovereignty, when you hold your ground regardless of how she responds, you become magnetic. This grounded energy pulls her into the space you create, a space where she can explore her own vulnerability without fear of rejection or judgment. The second truth is that vulnerability is strength, but it must be wielded with mastery. To be vulnerable does not mean to be weak or overshare. It means to be honest with yourself and present with your feelings, while maintaining control over how and when you reveal them. When you balance strength with softness, you invite her to do the same. Desire flourishes in this mutual dance of exposure and respect, where both partners feel safe enough to lean into the unknown. This balance is not easy. It demands constant self-reflection and courage to face your fears. Fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing control. But it is in this struggle that you build the emotional muscle that triggers genuine desire. Now, consider the emotional barriers many women carry. Walls built by past hurts, disappointments, and betrayals. These barriers are invisible yet palpable, shaping how she responds to your presence. The Playboy's secret here is patience and attunement. He does not rush to break down these walls with charm or flattery. Instead, he listens deeply, reads the subtle signals in her body language, the shifts in her tone, the hesitations in her eyes. Through his calm and steady presence, he becomes a safe harbor, a place where she can lower her defenses on her own terms. This creates a fertile ground for desire to grow organically. It is here that the art of tension comes alive, the delicious push and pull that keeps her intrigued and emotionally invested. Desire is not sparked by instant gratification, but by the slow burn of anticipation, the mystery that unfolds over time. When you ask her to choose between being understood or devoured, you honor this tension. You acknowledge her complexity and invite her to reveal which part of herself she wants to lead with at that moment. Desire thrives in this dynamic interplay, where both emotional safety and passionate surrender coexist. But this interplay is delicate. It requires that you do not collapse under the weight of her intensity nor withdraw out of fear. Instead, you hold the tension with maturity and presence, like a steady flame flickering in the dark, neither smothering nor flickering out. This emotional maturity distinguishes the man who triggers desire from the man who simply chases it. Let us now explore the power of imagination in this process. When you ask questions that invite her to imagine scenarios where social rules dissolve, where she experiences freedom and playfulness, you tap into a deep psychological mechanism. Imagination unlocks parts of her psyche that are often hidden, the part that yearns for spontaneity, risk, and connection without scripts. By giving her permission to explore these impulses, you bypass her conscious filters and awaken a raw, authentic desire. This is why the tone and delivery of your questions matter so profoundly. It is not what you say, but how you say it. The calm confidence, the gentle curiosity, the steady gaze that conveys you are a man who respects her inner world and invites her to trust you with it. Now remember, desire is not a one-way street. It is a co-creation. As you cultivate presence, ask powerful questions, and hold emotional tension, you also must attune yourself to her responses, both spoken and unspoken. Learn to read the subtle cues, the quickened breath, the softened gaze, the slight lean toward you. These are signals that your energy is landing in the right place, that the psychological architecture of desire is being built. But just as importantly, recognize when to pull back. Desire cannot be forced or rushed. Sometimes the most seductive act is restraint, allowing space for her to process, to wonder, to crave without pressure. This is the paradox of desire. It grows strongest when it is not grasped too tightly. As you deepen your emotional mastery, you begin to embody the paradox of strength and vulnerability, confidence and curiosity, presence and mystery. This embodied state becomes your greatest asset, more powerful than any line, more magnetic than any gesture. Women sense this energy deeply. It resonates with an unconscious part of them that yearns for connection on a level beyond words, beyond physical touch. A connection that touches the soul. So how do you cultivate this state? Start with radical self-awareness. Observe your thoughts, your emotional reactions, your fears and desires without judgment. Notice the patterns that keep you stuck, the need to prove yourself, the fear of rejection, the urge to control outcomes. Practice presence, in conversations, in your daily life, in your own body. Feel your breath, ground yourself in the moment, and learn to sit comfortably with silence. Develop emotional curiosity, not just about others but about yourself. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling? What do I want? What holds me back from being fully present? As you grow in this awareness, your interactions with women transform. Your questions carry weight because they come from a place of authenticity, not strategy. Your presence invites trust because it is rooted in self-possession. And desire, real desire, follows naturally. Remember, the psychological secrets Playboys use are not about manipulation, but about invitation. Inviting a woman to meet you in a space of emotional freedom, curiosity, and authentic connection. This journey is not easy. It demands patience, courage, and the willingness to face your own shadows. But the reward is profound. Relationships that are rich, transformative, and deeply satisfying. You are not here to play games or perform roles. You are here to become a man who triggers desire by being fully himself. Calm, aware, and present. So step into that power. Ask the questions that matter. Hold the silences that speak volumes. Watch as desire unfolds, not as a prize to be won, but as a natural reflection of your own emotional mastery. This is your path to connection. This is your invitation to be unforgettable. If this journey into the depths of desire, presence, and emotional mastery spoke to something inside you, then you are already walking the path few dare to follow. Here we are not chasing approval, not seeking empty validation. We are cultivating power, the silent, steady kind that transforms how women feel in our presence and how we feel in our own skin. If you're ready to rise beyond the noise, to break free from patterns that no longer serve you, and to become the man who triggers desire without chasing it, then I invite you to join this brotherhood of growth and awareness. Subscribe now, and become part of a community dedicated to emotional mastery, self-discovery, and creating meaningful, lasting connections. Like this video if you feel the shift beginning within you. Share it with one man who's still stuck in his head but ready to step into his presence. Drop a comment below. Say unstoppable if you're committed to this path of silent power and transformation. Your voice matters here. Your journey inspires others. Together we rise. Together we embody a new way of connection, one rooted in truth, strength, and undeniable presence. This is more than content. This is your invitation to become unforgettable.